Hey, friends, welcome and thanks for tuning in to episode 96. Wow, 96 episodes already of the Heat Press for Profit podcast. I have to say, I am so excited today to chat all about the heart of the business for many decorators today, and that is the heat press. Before we get into our chat today, though, I do want to say here at Stalls, we always aim for these podcasts and all of our educational content to inspire new ideas for decorators just like you, help you learn, connect with other decorators, and of course, reach your own success, regardless if you're an at-home business or a bustling print shop, commercial decorator, or distributor. We are here to empower your success, not just here in 2025, but far beyond that as well. I do want to ask you, if you are not already a member of the community, head on over to Facebook and join the Heat Press for Profit group powered by Stalls, where there is tons of discussions every single day, decorators helping each other out. Even if it's hey, my customer asked for this specific garment, I can't find it through my supplier, does anybody know? We see those on there, all the way to application issues, and of course even sharing tips, where you'll see from community members saying, hey, I have success printing on this hat doing this, or I love this blank, or whatever it may be. I know I personally interact a lot in there as well, and it's just a great community to be a part of. So if you're not already a member, head over there to Heat Press for Profit on Facebook and join that community completely free. We also have our Easy Prints dealers group, or Easy Prints decorators group, that I believe is more kind of Transfer Express oriented. If you're using the Easy View Designer or those Transfer Express products, two great communities over on Facebook, and they're all hidden too. So if you're a decorator and you're worried about your customer saying, hey, well, how are you guys pricing this, or whatever it may be, your customers will never see it. But I do have to say, love our YouTube channels as well, right? I personally, as Dave, do a lot of content for our YouTube channels, and really admire all of our presenters that craft a lot of content with the sole purpose of helping a decorator like you out. But I also love connecting on site. We were just out in the Impressions Expo last week in Atlantic City, which was an absolutely phenomenal show. Love talking to people out there, and had some really great conversations about building goals, building success here for 2025. But if you missed that show, there's tons of other opportunities coming up just this weekend here. This will be the March, I believe it starts March 29th, is the ASI show down in Fort Worth. The DTF Expo out in Phoenix is next week. The Decorated Apparel Expo, the DAX shows, really kind of ramp up here for 2025 in May. So May 9th through 10th. And I'll be at that show if you want to come chat, talk shop, nerd out about printing. The DAX show in Chicago is the end of May at the 30th through 31st. And of course, Graphics Pro Expo, the GPX shows, as they're affectionately called, with the Start Here University. There's tons of education at those shows. That's going to be June 19th through 20th. The DAX show in Minneapolis, the Twin Cities show, is August 1st through 2nd. And then, of course, the Graphics Pro Expo wraps around at the end of August out in Long Beach, California, where we just had the Impressions Expo, what feels like just a couple weeks ago, but now I think it's a couple months ago, right? But I am super excited to bring on our guest here today, Shauna Soom. She is the Director of Global Sales and Service at Hotronics, and we're going to uncover some secrets here today about achieving flawless, professional, high-quality prints. We're going to chat what to look for if you're in the market for a heat press, or just looking for the best features for your heat press, the must-know tips for some perfect application, and of course, how the right equipment sets you up for long-term success with your business. We are not just about transactional orders and getting money in and out of the door. We are about your success and meeting and exceeding your goals as a decorator. Shauna, how are you doing today?
It's so good to see you, Dave. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk all things heat press.
Absolutely. I know you're such a resource for a lot of people in the industry, in your position at Hotronics. But for those of the audience out there, maybe today, that is not super familiar with Hotronics, would you be able to provide like a brief history, maybe of your involvement with Hotronics and Hotronics as a whole?
Sure, sure. It's a really cool story. So Ted Stahl, our founder, and his family, and it's still a family-owned business for people who don't know that, started with applying felt cutout transfers, or I guess letters and numbers. They were sewing them on, and as time progressed, they figured out a way to adhere them with an adhesive backing. Well, in 1986, so, just a little bit ago, the adhesives had come to a point where they needed a specific time, temperature, and pressure. And the heat presses that were on the market at that time, they didn't deliver accurate time, temperature, and pressure. They had cold spots, uneven pressure, the temperature would fluctuate. So that would cause the products that the Stahl family was producing to not work properly and to fail. So Ted knew that it was tied to the heat press. So he took matters into his own hands, like any good entrepreneur, right? He worked with an industry expert, a gentleman by the name of Ron Anderson, and together they developed an affordable heat press that would provide quality results with every use. Thus was born Hotronics. That's still what we do today. We produce accurate, high quality heat presses that will deliver an accurate time, temperature, and pressure with every press, which is the trinity of heat pressing and the really important thing to get a successful print.
And now I talk to decorators about that, but you're telling me 40 years now of Hotronics coming up
Yes.
next year. That's a
Yeah.
milestone. Or we got to have a celebration or some cake or something, right?
I think so. Put some candles on a giant sheet cake.
That's
So
shaped like a heat press.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm here at Hotronics today. I'm at our manufacturing facility. I'm in Carmichael's, Pennsylvania. These heat presses have been manufactured in southwestern Pennsylvania since the company started. They're created with American made steel, it's an American workforce, it's a quality press.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know when you were kind of talking about that, the whole catalyst for everything, right, was the application, and that's why application matters. And what you're saying is kind of this is why the heat press matters, right? The time, temperature, and pressure. And I know even a session that I just had out, one of the workshops that we did in Atlantic City was kind of the heat press fundamentals, and that's the starting point right there, right? So, why why is a heat press more than just say like a machine? It is so vital in producing quality prints for apparel decorators. Can you kind of share why, with all of the different heat transfers out there, why does that accurate time, temperature, and pressure matter so much?
So, a quality heat press will allow you to sleep at night. You could have a print that looks really great going out the door, but it might fail on washing. And for a decorator, what's that mean? There's no guarantee that the customer's going to tell you. You know what will happen? They just won't come back and they'll badmouth you to your friends. So, negative publicity, it takes, what is it, two or three times as many positive uh, comments after you've heard something negative. So, as a decorator, you want to make sure that the product that you put out looks good on its way out the door, but then also looks good after the customer's washed it, especially if you're working with groups that are re-wearing that, like sports teams or um, uh, people who are wearing uniforms. Those types of instances, it definitely matters that the print is going to last.
Well, and I say, like, I know as a decorator myself, that's like the number one thing that scares me, right? And having marketed in the print industry for so long, it is so much easier to keep your customers happy and so enthusiastic when you talk about growing a business. But like, I know this, the stark reality of it is, 9 times out of 10, that customer's not even telling you there was an issue. They're just never gonna ever shop with you ever again, or come back to you, or trust you, or recommend you. And like, that's that hidden unknown that I think a lot of decorators have that anxiety in the back of their head. So I like how you say like you're able to sleep at night knowing that you have that quality application that you could really like hang your business's reputation on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's huge. That's huge. How does Hotronics, I guess, kind of support decorators in that quality application? And even if they have any questions or like, we know issues always come up with anything, right? Is there a system in place to kind of ensure decorators always have that smooth path?
Sure. As part of the Stalls family, we're educating our distributors. So Hotronics is sold through a distributor network. We don't sell direct to the public. So we're always educating our distributor sales folks and customer service folks on the newest products that we have and really how to answer basic questions for the customer. We have social media channels. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram. We partner with Stalls and Transfer Express to put out tons of education. So educating our customers on how to properly use the heat press, how to properly maintain it. And then we take support very seriously. It's a piece of equipment. It's not going to last forever, but it will last a really long time if you take care of it. And in the event that something does happen, oftentimes the heat press can be repaired. And we have a technical support team. It's 24/7, 365. So for customers who were with us during the pandemic, just because of everything that was going on, we had to back off of that 24/7, 365 support, but we reinstituted that, I want to say last August or September. So if it's 3 a.m. and you're out in the garage pressing and something happens, you can pick up the phone and someone will call you back at 3:10 a.m.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you don't hear that from a lot of those companies out there, even supporting software that we're using very commonly at 3
Right,
a.m.,
right.
let alone a piece of equipment. And you know, when you think about it as that investment, I think at the top of the episode, I did say like the heat press is the heart of the business, right? It's what's pumping all the time. It's rock solid and rock steady, and having that reliability in there is so important, which kind of brings me to, I guess, my next question, which is like, I know there's a lot of misconceptions about decorating and educating through different transfer types like we do at shows or on our YouTube channel here at Stalls. What are kind of the biggest myths or misconceptions that decorators have about heat presses?
One of the things that I see from my perspective, Dave, is customers think that any heat press will do the job. And that's just not the case. You really want to get a quality heat press. It's very important. You want to make sure that temperature is right so that it doesn't scorch the garments. We do testing here on a regular basis, and we have brought in import presses, and the temperature will be off 45 or 50 degrees, one way or the other. That's a lot. You know, if you're working with a heat sensitive polyester garment and it's 45 degrees off high, you are burning that shirt,
Not a good
right?
time.
No, not a good time. So, any heat press just won't do the job if you're looking to get into a wide variety of product types, offering a variety of finishes, offering unique placement locations. So if you're really looking to do more than just a standard t-shirt, a really good heat press matters.
That's
Um,
yeah, that's I think that's refreshing because I feel like that is something that I hear more and more, that it's like, "Oh, an iron will do."
no,
No,
it
not for
won't.
professional quality results.
No, not at all. If you want to wear that shirt one time and don't care if you never wear it again, sure. I know we have customers who will invest thousands in printing equipment, but that's only halfway to the final decorated garment with many of today's technologies.
Yeah, especially, yeah, we see so many decorators investing in those, like, printing setups that are, you know, they're over the price of a brand new car, right? Now, granted, they are that investment, and in a lot of cases, there's a lot of maintenance and hidden costs that I think are associated with some of those, like, I will print in-house setups, but, like, with a heat press,
Yes,
there's you don't really have that maintenance, and you have that reliability, you have that, level investment that's really gonna help you profit regardless of if you're printing in house. Because if you're printing in house with the best transfers or you're spending the most money to still have, you know, not the proper application, yeah, that's a
right.
big bummer. I see. I do want to just call out some of our friends here tuning in live, from Kim Johnson to Craig over at Hagen Home Goods. I know we just hung out in Atlantic City not too long ago. And 970 Custom saying, you know, support is top notch. Only had a few issues over the years, but they were able to help me correct it. We were just talking about
Yay.
the the Hotronics support that was available, that 24/7, and that is so important to be able to help you stay, you know, printing, right? If that press isn't closed and t-shirts aren't leaving the shop, you're not profiting as a decorator. So it's so important to be able to get back on your feet running. I was just talking to somebody who had a piece of equipment. It was a type of printer, right? Where they invested a whole bunch of money and then weren't able to use it for 3 months because they were waiting
Ugh,
on support and
on
service
parts and
from
stuff.
overseas, right? And it's like
Ugh.
this was taking up square footage in the shop, and we know real estate is more expensive than ever before now. So that's expensive real estate in your shop, whether to house garments or be a production space. So, so many good things in there. So, I do want to start talking about features though, because there's some features that I know I look for in a heat press, like threadability. I come from the screen printing world. Like threadability in a heat press is such an important aspect of it. But for you and Hotronics, what is that list of like must have? Like if somebody out there is listening right now and is like, I'm looking to pick up a new heat press, the must have features for decorators at even different levels, whether they're a beginner or maybe they're a well established shop looking to add on that quality. And I'm sure the features are going to differ based on those two audiences. But yeah, what would you say to somebody that what should I look for in a heat press?
Great question, Dave. A question that we get often. There isn't a straight answer. First off, let's say you want a heat press that's very focused on quality because you want accurate time, temperature, and pressure. But beyond that, there really isn't a standard answer. It's really based on the user. Who's going to use it? How are they going to use it? And why are they investing in a heat press? So, if you're working a side hustle and you're running your shop in the evening or on the weekends and you're out of your garage and maybe you have an embroidery piece of equipment and you have a heat press and you have a hat press, I might recommend something that automatically opens so that you can walk away and not worry about your garment scorching. Um, I have a lot of customers who don't like working under the heat. So then we shift them to a swinger, and the air swinger is right behind me today. We can talk more about that later, or a fusion, some type of a swing away press. So you're not working under the heat. As you move up and as you start to really build heat print technology into your business, I recommend that customers think about what efficiencies they want to grow. Do they need interchangeable platens? Are they expanding their what they can decorate, their product line? Do they have a lot of employees that are coming in? So do they need something that is easy, that has a low barrier to entry for training, is something that's quick to train on? So those are all questions that I try to ask the customer so that we get them into the heat press that fits them. And
Yeah.
then we can't forget the ProPlace IQ.
Oh, the Pro Place. I love that thing so much. When we talk about misprinting shirts, right? Just having that projection, especially for, I was down in North Carolina, and I know Clemson University is in South Carolina, but they were doing some, the tiger paw, right? And they were an
Okay.
officially licensed shop, but that paw has to be set at such a certain angle. And it's so hard to like line up and hit every single time. And the shop
Yep.
was just like, yo, Pro Place completely eliminates that
Game
issue.
changer, right?
Game changer, right? You talked a little bit though about efficiencies there, and that's always something. Like I mentioned, like my go-to for what to look for is being able to thread the shirt. So essentially,
Yep.
open the shirt up like it's a pillowcase and put it over the lower platen. Because then I've always struggled, even back from my screen printing days. Like if you just lay a shirt down, you essentially have the layer of fabric behind it too. You have that uneven surface where now the squeegee, or when we're screen printing,
And
is
it can
going
go
over
like
a
this.
collar, right? And
Yeah.
it could move, so now you're not staying like. So that was always the thing. Like we open a shirt up in the screen printing world and put it on there, and with a heat press, I don't want any of those wrinkles or seams or anything that on that backside, and then I'm fussing with it. So the threadability just allows you to put that shirt on there. Number one for me, like really help ensure that it's loaded straight, which is super important when you talk about things like the Pro Place, but it also speeds up the printing. So it's not a minute or two to print a shirt. It is 20 seconds. I know I was just
Seconds.
going. Now, you talked about auto open features too, and I love that the auto clam, right? That one is my favorite. The press I have at home, the press we have in the studio that we use all
That's
the
what I
time,
have at home.
And I used one of those autoclams for just a funny little TikTok that we did when the Daytona 500 was happening. Is could you print a shirt faster than a pit stop, right? And
Oh, that's great.
don't want to spoil it, but I totally did. Brush your shoulders off, right? So go over on TikTok or find the reels if you're over on Instagram right now, or even Facebook, and check that one out because that was super fun. And yes, you're able to heat print a shirt accurately with a great quality result and faster than a pit stop. So definitely really cool. The one thing too that I think is overlooked, at least when I'm talking to decorators, is the pressure, right? Where time and temperature is so easy to be accurate, right? We have thermometers, we have clocks, right? Like they are fixed constructs where pressure is, I feel like, often overlooked. Is that a common mistake that you see decorators make when heat applying shirts?
Yes, that is a very common mistake. What I find is most decorators want to smash the transfer onto the garment, thinking that more pressure is better. And what they don't realize is we have some really sophisticated adhesives these days, and they're very sensitive to pressure. So sometimes if you're over pressurizing, you're smashing out the adhesive. So the transfer is not going to stick there. It's either going out the sides or it's going too far into the fabric to be able to create a good quality transfer. So the strain gauge pressure, when we have the digital pressure readouts on the Hotronics presses, that's one of our patents, is the ability to take that pressure and dial it into a number that is displayed for the operator, so they know, 3, 4 is low pressure, 5, 6 is medium, 7, 8 is heavy.
Without having to go to like a pneumatic press where it's measuring the PSI, right? Like
Right.
being forced through the air hose, which is so big. Could you mention some of the presses that Hotronics makes that does have a digital pressure readout? Because that's one thing that like I'm not. Of course, you could fuss with like a dollar bill test or whatever they call it, right? Where you're testing the pressure of each corner. But having just a numerical number takes that guesswork out of it, and I feel like solves a lot of those application issues. Yeah, what models on the Hotronics lineup have digital pressure readouts on those?
So we have a lot of models that have the digital pressure readout. Our autoclam series has the digital pressure readout. Our Fusion series has a digital pressure readout. And then when you get into our air models, the Air Fusion and the Dual Air Fusion, they're operated by air compressor. So they're showing you the actual PSIs that are pressing. An advantage to the air models is you can really dial in that pressure. So if you're working with sensitive garments, which it seems as if that becomes more and more common with all of the recycled fabrics and just how the fabrics are getting dyed these days. If you're having problems, an air machine might be the answer because you can dial in that pressure. Our 360 IQ cap press has a digital pressure readout. So a lot of the Hotronics presses do have the digital pressure readout because it's so important.
Yeah, it's part of that recipe, right? Time, temperature, pressure. When I talk about it, even when we're just talking about heat transfers in general, whether it be screen printing or DTF, right? That it's a tripod, right? So if you think of a tripod holding a camera up, it's nice and sturdy. That's your application. But as soon as you remove even one of those legs, so even regardless of how accurate your time and temperature are, if you remove the pressure leg component of it, it's now not going to stand even, or if it's completely gone and overlooked, that entire thing falls over. So it is that, I think you called it the trifecta, right? Where it's like you need this for that proper application that at least you could sleep at night, right? So when we talk about, I mean, obviously the pressure readout is a huge feature that it definitely is something to look for many decorators, especially maybe just getting started where you don't want to spend that time troubleshooting. Um, but I know a lot of the lower models, ones that I've used. I'm not proud to say that I've owned heat presses that are not Hotronics branded, but I have. Right? I think a lot of decorators out there start with something like the Amazon Special. So what you kind of mentioned the import presses just a couple minutes ago, but from those like very low cost Amazon presses, what's the difference between that and something like that made in the USA Hotronics press?
So all of the features, the threadability, the ability to change out the platens to be able to isolate that print area. So if you're doing a bag, you couldn't throw a backpack on top of a 16 by 20, it would never work. You want to just be able to isolate. So interchangeable platens are important. Um, the warranty that the press has. Hotronics presses come with industry leading warranties. We have technical support. We talked about the 24/7, 365. You can pick up the phone and talk to somebody. You can submit a case through your Hotronics account. You can chat us. You can text with the service technicians. So we really try to meet the customers where they are to be able to help them get those presses fixed. We'll do a video call with you if you're really having problems or you need something set up in a special way, or you really want the tech to actually see. So we're meeting the customer where they are. You're not getting that with an Amazon press. We have replacement parts that are available. You can shop online and grab those, or you can talk with a technician. And that's available to you at our hotronics.com website. And then in addition, when the press comes, it's accurate, right? You know that the top platen is flat and you're going to get a good pressure and you're going to have the right temperature. Um, so I think all together, that collectively makes a difference. I don't think you can piece one of those out and say this is what sets it apart, but just collectively having all of those features together in one heat press makes a world of difference.
Yeah, when you talk about the reliability, the efficiency of it, right? The reducing the variables. The hey is especially for folks just getting started, where it's like, why isn't this working? Is it the fabric that I'm decorating on? Is it the transfer that I'm decorating with? Is there something defective? Which is I think very rarely the case, right? But it's like you have that reliability of you're not going to have to worry about, is this going to work or not? So you can sleep at night knowing it's
Yeah, the
it's stuck
comfort
on
and the
there.
confidence.
But you also have the efficiency, because I know when I was very, very early on decorating, and I talked to so many decorators, small business owners and entrepreneurs that aren't they don't put that value to their own time. And like that's something that when you look to scale a business, working with so many businesses who have done it, that's like the number one thing. Like you need to start, if you plan on down the road, a year, 2 years from now, like hiring an employee, you need to essentially be accounting for paying that employee right now, because then that makes onboarding somebody so much less
Yeah, that's great advice.
obtrusive to growing the business. And like I know for myself, it would be like the busiest month ever, and I was never pricing and accounting for my time. So that like efficiency level of like I am maximizing my time. So then, it's not just you're getting extra hours back in the day, whether that be to go sell more, right? Go get more customers or market or spend more time with your family. Of like now it's not taking you that extra time to ensure the shirt's flat, because you could just toss it on there real quick, and in a second, it's a printing surface that's going to take whatever transfer you're going to put on it immediately right away, right? So like you have those, not just the efficiency, but then you mentioned the peace of mind too. So like the reliability, the peace of mind, the efficiency, it's definitely a win-win-win-win. There's a lot more that goes into it than just it's something that gets hot that pushes down on a transfer.
So much more than that.
So that's awesome. I see some questions coming in too, and we'll get to some questions if we have some time at the end. Always a benefit of listening live to us here across LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. And of course, these are always out on whatever your audio listening streaming service is, whether Apple Music, iHeartRadio, or anywhere you get your podcast. You'll be able to find the Heat Press for Profit podcast every single week, dropping down for you. And my next thing that I want to move to is kind of the long-term success, right? So we
Okay.
talked about some features of what to look for, but the long-term success of decorators, right? So really, how does a reliable heat press really help decorators profit more? I mean, I think we kind of touched a little bit on it already with like that efficiency and that time savings, obviously the repeat customers, but are there other aspects of like why a quality heat press is 100% worth that investment?
I think when our decorators are putting out quality products, that customer is going to come back and refer. So having good quality products going out the door that withstand the wash test, that industry standard 50 washes, gosh, this shirt lasted forever. Um, I got it from whatever shop, you should try it. I think that's one thing that really helps our decorators improve their profitability. Um, Increasing their output by understanding how to use the press in the most efficient way. And then I think something that might be overlooked is those interchangeable platens that allow you to decorate unique areas. And often you can upcharge for those unique placement locations, which allows the decorator to generate more profit.
Well,
So the
and
ability to expand your product line and then just be decorating in 4 locations on a shirt instead of just the front.
with ease, right? But you talk about that, and I think that's something that I don't want to like kind of just gloss over because it's so important to be able to say yes confidently, right? As a decorator, anytime that a customer's like, "Hey, I know this is a weird request, but like, man, would you be able to print on this bag, or would you be able to print up here on the bicep of long sleeves?" And like, that's a kind of challenging decoration location, but with the certain accessories that you could get, it makes it incredibly easy and
Easy.
efficient. Yeah, sure. Right. Because anytime you could say yes, and there definitely is the right time to say no. But anytime you could say yes to these things, it cements you solving a solution for your customer, which I know we're in this economy where everything's a race to the bottom on price, and like, oh, a decorator's going to say, well, that first question, well, how much is it going to cost for me to get 24 shirts? Right. And so for a decorator to be able to answer that, hey, that customer's always probably turning around to the internet and quoting your price or checking your price against some quote on the internet. But when you do things that are out of the bounds that like you can't go get an instant quote on the internet for that bicep print on a long sleeve or down by the cuff of a sweatshirt,
Yep.
right? We see so many of those prints. Even the one I see more and more, it's that shoulder blade print. I call it the North Face print or the what Patagonia print, because
Yep.
right on the shoulder blade, you kind of have that off center. And I even see t-shirt shops here in Cleveland, like the local shops are now putting their branding there instead of in the upper back location, like in that locker patch area. So it's like you see way more visibility with that, but like saying yes to those locations because you have the capabilities to confidently and efficiently do that, I think are often overlooked for that decorator success. To anything you could do that stops anybody from going to just chase you on price, you're building value in your services. And I've seen that time and time again really build success for decorators out there.
Retail looks. Folks want to look like they walked out of a retail shop, right? So if you can do that for your customer, which often includes specialty finishes and or specialty locations, if you're able to do that and charge a little bit more, um, charge a lot more in some cases, then that makes our decorators more successful.
Yeah, and help you stay relevant to those trends. And that's something that like I it really opened my eyes coming from screen printing, right? So many screen printers are like heat transfers, they get a bad rap. They get a bad rap because of the bad application, kind of like what we talked about, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, if you're applying HTV with a hand iron, you're not getting the consistent temperature, time, and pressure. And so
right.
when it peels off, and everybody's like, yeah, it's inferior, right? But that first time that you pull a screen print transfer, or even now with like the DTF transfers, where it's like, wow, I could do full color that like you screen printers usually would never even touch that, or like it had to be such a high quantity. So now you're like consolidating so many of these different decoration methods, whether it be screen printing or direct to garment now with direct to film, right? You're consolidating all of these different print methods to the heat press. Even when you mention like the 360, now we're talking dimensional looks. So you're looking
Dimensional
at like
products.
embroidery, right? Or like appliques, the twill. There's so many different finishes and effects now that you're consolidating what used to be a humongous warehouse of a print shop down to essentially the size of a heat press that is that heartbeat of your business that could sit right here, right?
Right
Like
there.
right on a counter in a spare office and be this fully capable machine that when the trend moves to, oh man, embroidered looks are really hot right now, right? Or like even puff,
Chenille.
chenille, huge right now. That's a perfect example, right? Where it's like everybody wants this like retro look, and it's like, oh well, yeah, I could do that with my heat press. I don't have to go out and buy a $6, $7, $10,000 chenille machine and then learn how to use it, right? Like
Right.
you're able to put all of these decoration methods under the heat press, and that was like the one thing that was like the mind blown moment of wow, this is a powerful machine. I think now more than ever, right, with direct to film, we see heat presses being more prevalent in any shop
Yeah,
more than ever before, right?
they're everywhere. Everybody needs a heat press. Embroiderers need a heat press. Screen printers need a heat press. Heat printers need more than one heat press.
Oh yeah, yeah. With the 360, when you have one going down, you're doing the workout, pulling both of them down at the same time. What's better than one heat press? There's two heat presses, which is you mentioned the ProPlace IQ and the dual layer fusion, where it's like you have two heat presses for one
Two heat
operator.
presses in one.
Yep, two right in one. I want to get to a couple questions, but I do want to wrap up at least the questions that I had for you.
Mhm.
And I'm going to leave with one last one here. Actually, let's tack two on maintenance wise, right? I know heat presses are a lot easier to maintain than almost any other piece of equipment that's going to produce a printed result for you, right? Whether it's a offset press, a screen printing press, a direct to garment printer, an embroidery machine, or even like a direct to film printer. What kind of maintenance is involved in just ensuring that the heat press is always going to be in tip top shape?
Hotronics has a maintenance document that lives on our website.
You are
So for
prepared.
anybody, I am prepared.
Pulling it right up.
Um, so for anybody who wants to download this document, they can. And can we put the link in the show notes after?
Yeah, we'll put it in the
Okay,
show
all right,
notes.
we'll drop those in the show notes. But really, you just want to make sure that you have good power. You want to dust your press off. Your outlet should be dedicated. You want to look for dust. You want to blow weekly. You want to blow out the inner workings of the joints and the pivot points with an air hose because we are working with fabric and that produces dust fibers. So you want to make sure that's clean. You want to make sure you look at the underside of the heating element to make sure there's no transfer residue up there. And if there is, you want to clean that off. On your air models, as you increase in like a type of press, you'll want to make sure that you're in the back taking out any moisture that is accumulating in that little I don't know what it's
Like the
called.
regulator back there.
Yeah, the little regulator. You want to make sure the moisture is out of there. We recommend monthly that you check the temperature of your heat press. So there are some pieces, what do I want to say, some parts that help regulate that temperature that can go out. It may not be the heating element. Our heating elements are guaranteed for a lifetime, but there are things like triacs and so forth that will wear out over time. So we recommend that you check the heating element temperature about once a month. You want to make sure that the bottom silicone pad in Hotronics presses, they're blue. You want to make sure they're flat and not ripped or torn or broken. Those can be replaced. You're same with your lower platen cover. And honestly, just keep it clean and be gentle with it. Don't bang on it.
Yeah, I will say keeping it clean is for any apparel decorator, man, that lint everywhere. Just
It is.
last week, I know on the top of my autoclave, anytime I like rub my finger on it, I'm like, all right, well, time to clean you.
Yikes.
But even
Yep.
just doing the lint that comes off of shirts, I mean, we all see it in the dryer, right? When we're doing laundry, you see how much fabric actually comes out of your clothes. But even just last week, after our workshop, I want to say there was probably 60 or 70 decorators in that workshop, and we all got hands on and printed a shirt using an autoclam, fresh out of the box, right? I think I did one application with it. It sat overnight, and then right in the morning, we start printing 70 shirts or so, right? That's the high end. That's probably, yeah, right over 60 shirts, whatever it is. By the time we were done with that, and I went to kind of like reposition it, there was already so much lint on top of that press where it's like,
Yep.
all right, get on off and get the little dust bunnies off. So I know that at least for me personally with the autoclam, that it seems to want to accumulate near the magnet, right?
Yep.
And so that's
Yep.
one thing that like I always like just wiping off with your hand, but having that compressed air around is just so easy. If you have the little duster, like the keyboard duster stuff, or if
Yep.
you have an air hose and a compressor just with the little spray end, that you could just use that compressed air. Super easy to just keep things clean. But yeah, it's the bane of all decorators' existence is the lint
Right.
we collect. There's some screen printing shops I've been in with like thick lint on top of everything. So keeping it clean regardless makes it easy. My last question before we turn to our audience here today is if there was just one takeaway, somebody just started tuning in right now, what's the one takeaway, one piece of advice that you would give to somebody when it comes to a heat press?
Oh, your heat press matters. Buy a quality heat press.
And it solves all the issues,
Solves all the heat print
from
technology.
applications to efficiency or the
Yep.
diversification, right, that we talked about. So that's a solid answer right there. That sums it all up. In other words, go back and listen to this entire episode if you are just tuning in to hear
All the
what
reasons why.
all of the reasons why the heat press matters. But I do think that's like a common misconception, that it's like, oh, it's just smashing it down with some heat. But no, you
Oh,
wouldn't like just throw the cake in the oven at like, oh, whatever. Or like, I'm not going to follow, like, you're going to follow the recipe on the back of the box for
mhm.
what you're baking, right? And if your oven is, not providing even close to the right temperature, you're never going to get that result, right? And like, if you're not following the recipe, and I mean, ovens, of course, are pretty easy. You just set it to temperature and like put it in, right? We don't have, well, we have time too, which I've been there where we leave it a little too long, right? And it's a
Or
crispy,
not long enough
crispy
because you're
Betty.
hungry.
Yeah, yeah, or it's a soupy cake, right? So like
Yeah,
the time, temperature, pressure, all a big, definitely the biggest things about that proper application. I will say too that like it heat transfer technology has come so far, but even, for the past, what, 30, 40 years since Hotronics has been around, heat printing technology has been a professional decorating method chosen by the major leagues, right? Like, so
correct.
it's not just recently where it's like, oh, wow, like you could get professional results with the heat press. It's always been that way. It's just been a misconception that like you could get the same results if you just use an iron, or you're
Yeah.
investing in like the lowest price option, the lowest cost option available, which, well, it worked out for NASA going to the moon, right?
Yeah,
Neil Armstrong's quote of like, it's terrifying when you're sitting on top of a rocket, you realize NASA parted out to the lowest price bidder. But like, when it comes to your business, when it comes to success, like, it is one investment that you necessarily shouldn't be skimping on here, right?
correct. Correct. If you want it to last a long time, you want to have backed up by support, and you want to produce quality garments, get a quality heat press.
Super important, wise words of wisdom, Shauna. And we do appreciate you coming on. I want to turn to the audience right here for just a little bit. And if you have any questions that you want to drop in, whether they relate to heat presses or not, because there's some questions I see in here that are a little different than, say, a heat press question, but that's what we're about here at Stalls, is just to help you out, right? We want your business to succeed. So the first question, this one's going to be one for you, Shauna. What is the lead time after purchase, say, regarding a Pro Place IQ? I would imagine that's the from when you order to when it leaves the facility at Hotronics in Carmichael, PA. What turnaround time are we looking for that one?
Sure. So, the order has to integrate with the Hotronics system, and depending on who your distributor is, sometimes that can take, 24-ish hours. But once the order is integrated into our system, we are currently stocked on Pro Places. So that Pro Place would, if it's before 3 o'clock Eastern time, it would leave same day. If it's after 3 o'clock Eastern time, it would leave next business day.
So like right now, 3:44, I'm looking at my non-existent watch, 3:44 p.m. on a Thursday. If I ordered a press right now from, let's just say, a connected distributor, right?
Mhm.
You're telling me my press would ship out tomorrow, essentially. Leave the
Tomorrow, Monday
facility.
at the latest. Monday at
That's
the latest,
awesome.
depending on how they integrate their orders.
So nice and quick. And I know, I just being kind of close to, being a distributor when I was at Transfer Express, that during the pandemic, they were as soon as they were built, they were leaving the floor, and
Yep.
inventory was a little low. So it's good to hear that the team is hard at work, making sure those shelves are stocked with the heat presses ready to go out to help decorators. I know I've been to the facility and have seen the impressive attention to detail that is in each one of those little workstations. I think over on the
Yeah.
Stalls TV YouTube channel, we do have like a Josh Ellsworth did a tour of kind of like walking around. Here's the where everything's warehoused, and here's where it's actually built. And looking in those stations where, you know, those are sometimes like the texts when you call tech support, right? Like those are the texts right there that are putting things together sometimes, or at least have
No,
been
no, the
there,
tech
right?
support guys are different, but the production guys, I will tell you, the production team, they're a great group of men and women, and they are very proud of the product that they produce.
Hmm.
And they build from top to bottom. So when you buy a dual air fusion, for example, you have a dual air fusion that was produced by one person from beginning to end.
Whoa! Now that is even on the tour, that is something that I did not learn. That's awesome. So it is
Yeah,
like
yep,
it's that sense of pride, right?
yep.
Do they like initial on the inside of like sign
Um,
each one on the inside of the machine? You can't
I
confirm
don't
nor deny.
think so. I can't confirm nor deny that.
Oh, that's awesome. I see one here from Octavius. What system do you suggest to take orders? So I imagine that's more of like a decorator question. I'm going to have to go with Fulfill Engine, right? I love it because even if you're doing bulk orders, being able to send out quotes, especially if you're using direct to film, right? Or any heat seal application with the dimensional emblems and patches, or even like stocked transfers, you could essentially like quote the job out in a bulk quote with connected to your supplier already. So like you don't quote the job out and then you go to actually order apparel and like, oh, well, that large and that ivy green colorway is out of stock. No, like that, it looks at the inventory. And then once your customer approves that quote, you have the production recipe built, you have the mock-up already done for you. So I am a little impartial to Fulfill Engine, but we see a lot of decorators have success with even things like just Shopify, right? Being able to put orders in with Shopify. Of course, you do have the monthly subscription fee with that, and you don't have that kind of scalable growth that's really built by decorators for Fulfill Engine. So I would recommend checking out Fulfill Engine if you have not. You could get a free demo, a walk through 20, 25 minutes of your time that is absolutely zero cost. And I will say that I know when I'm talking to people too, they're like, well, this is what I'm doing. This is what I plan to do. And it's like, yeah, it's not really necessarily built for that, but for 99% of decorators, it totally is. Here's one for you, Sean. I see this one coming in from Mark Baker over on YouTube. What extension cord could I use with my Fusion IQ? Brand new here. Shauna says
No.
no extension cord. No
No,
extension
Mark,
cord.
don't use an extension cord. So it's really important, especially when you get to the our more expensive line of heat presses with all of the electronics. You want to make sure that you have a dedicated outlet. So that is nothing else is plugged into that outlet, not even a fan, not even a radio. So if you are, at home, you might have an outlet that's run by one breaker and three or four on a chain. You want to make sure there's nothing else on that chain. And if you absolutely must use an extension cord, it needs to be the shortest extension cord that you can get, and it has to be the thickest wire that you can get. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember what the gauge is, but we can get that and add it to the show notes. But Mark, you really don't want to use an extension cord at all.
Yeah, even the Howard heavy duty ones, I learned this one the hard way, and I knew as soon as we answered the question, and you kind of hid your face, like I very early on, right? Like we're in the studio, we're moving things around, like, ooh, we moved buildings essentially, and like, yeah, well, we can't go that way because there's a window, but there's no outlet over here. And so we grabbed what we thought was a heavy duty extension cord, right? Like it was orange and it looked like it may be rated for outdoor use. We plugged it in, and I don't know if I've ever felt an extension cord get that screaming hot. So, like, number one, safety issue. And that was like, oh, guys, we're unplugging this right now, right? But somebody else came and plugged it back in. Number one, the press never was fully heating up, or it was like an hour after we turned it on. Like, why isn't that thing up to
Why is
temperature
it
yet?
taking so long? Yeah.
That's weird. But then also, it essentially tripped the breaker, and we were mid filming, black the room out. And that's not safe, not fun.
No.
And especially when you're trying to profit and maximize your time, like, whoop, that all goes out the window. Why are my lights off?
One thing I don't think we talked about, Dave, was the ULCECKROHS
Yeah,
certification that all
what
Hotronics presses have.
what is
So
that certification?
So those are third-party certifications that check for safety for things like electricity, electrical fires, that kind of thing. So UL is US. It is a third-party testing laboratory. UKCA is for the UK, and then CE is for the rest of Europe. So those are tests that we do independently here at Hotronics. So we send the machines away to a third-party company that will test for those. And all Hotronics machines have that ULCE UKCA certification. So that's another comforting feature for customers who are investing in a press. But we don't want to screw up that UL certification by plugging it into an extension cord that isn't rated the same and can't handle the power draw.
That gets screaming hot. Yeah. So try to keep a press near an outlet. Definitely, not that difficult to do. And then also like being able to move outlets, even just in a production space or a garage, having a licensed electrician come in and just move the outlet down a little ways, or just have
Yep.
that peace of mind knowing that you have that dedicated outlet. But yeah, Mark, it looks like he says, okay, thank you. And he does say that he's in Canada there.
Canada.
So important to have that North American certification on that. John, last question that we'll get here today. I need to catch up on these videos this weekend. Can you post a link, or will these be on the YouTube channel? And of course, all of the Heat Press for Profit podcasts and more on the Stalls TV YouTube channel, as well as the Transfer Express YouTube channel. So all you have to do is go to lives. If you click the lives tab, you'll see all of the replays here in video form, or just type in Heat Press for Profit wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be able to ensure that you get caught up on all of the information. We've brought in guests from decorators to industry experts, just like Shauna over at Hotronics today. But Shauna, I want to say thank you so much for your time enlightening us on what to look for in a heat press and why a quality heat press matters to a business, how decorators could find success, be more relevant with their customers, and diversify even the products that they could offer. It's just so powerful, and it's the heartbeat, right? This is the center of the decorating business for so many decorators, big and small, and just that piece of machinery that is reliable and empowers them to find so much success. So thank you so much for hanging out, Shauna. Really
Thanks for
appreciate you.
inviting me. It's been a fun afternoon spending it with you.
Absolutely. You kind of pointed out the air fusion back there. Could you spill the beans in our final waning moments of what is there anything cool that you could talk about that's coming out that maybe Hotronics is working on? I know things are probably under wrapped, and Hotronics has a whole list
We
of patents and
always have
inventions.
something cool coming out, Dave. I will just say that the listeners will not be disappointed.
Okay. That's the easy way to keep it safe, not get you in trouble. I didn't want to get you in trouble with anybody over there at
Pushing the
Hotronics.
envelope. I love it.
Just a little bit, maybe like somebody listens and they only listen so far in and they don't hear the end of the episode. So you spill the beans, but I do really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody out there listening as well. Of course, thank you for always tuning in live with us, contributing to the show with your questions live in real time. You could always find the show live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Essentially, if we're going to have an off week, we commonly have those when we have a show or like limited internet access. So last week we were out at the Impressions Expo, and sometimes when we can, we will broadcast live from the shows. Unfortunately, we just couldn't make it work. But every single Thursday throughout the year, unless otherwise posted, we'll be right here live on Thursdays, talking to decorators, just sharing our insights of what we see in the industry, or just having conversations about current trends. Right. The one is, man, now, and we're probably going to have to do an episode on it, but I want to say it's called jungle core. That like we saw cottage core get really popular as a design trend or like a t-shirt trend, and it's like the rain boots and flowers and floral and kind of that like whimsical, almost like illustration style. And now it's because of White Lotus, right? Like a TV show,
Oh,
a pop culture phenomenon that like everybody is doing jungle prints and big leaves and Bengal tigers and stuff like that. That like this imagery comes into our world as apparel decorators. That's like it's wild, but that's why the podcast is always here to help keep you up to date, so you don't have to be in tune with what's currently trending to be able to say when your customer says like, "Hey, could you design me a jungle core tee?" and you're like, "What did you just say?"
what?
Yeah, you could say yes, right? Say yes to more decorators. But of course, here on the podcast, all of our educational content over on YouTube is always built to inspire new ideas and help you as a decorator learn, connect, and of course, smash your own goals. I usually say like reach your own success, but man, we are in the game of smashing goals this year for 2025. Be sure to join our community over on our YouTube page. So just click that subscribe button or head over to the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, which is full of thousands of decorators just like you, willing to share ideas, help, and essentially uplift the entire community. Before we sign off, I do want to say, Shauna, thank you again so much for joining us here today. I thought we had a great conversation and already went way over on time. I kind of had an inkling we would. I had some loaded questions for you, but I really appreciate you being a good sport and sharing all of your insight and knowledge with us here today.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Shauna. And we'll see everybody next week. I believe, actually, we're going to have Jenna hosting the podcast next week. So stay tuned for Jenna Sackett next week, the beginning of April. We're going to kick it off. And if you're coming to some of the shows up soon, be sure to stop by the Stalls booth, the Transfer Express booth, or get hands-on with some of these Hotronics machines that we talked about here today, or the new things, right? Wink, wink, that are surely not built to disappoint. Zipped lips. Thank you so much, Shauna, and thank you guys for listening. We are definitely going to see you soon. So happy decorating.